Welcome to episode 8 of Two Dumb White Guys. My name's Paul Davidson.
And I am Scott Norman, and we actually have a special guest today. Would you like to introduce yourself, or would you like us to?
Oh, introduce me, please.
Okay.
Well, he is the one, the only, the man that is known, that strikes the feeling of fear in all people from East Prairie. The one, the only, Jeff Bullock.
There you go, man.
Yeah.
I hear you. Thanks for having me on. This is a big moment. I know your first guest, so to be the
our
first one.
guest. And as you said, I don't know what we're going to do because it'll just be downhill from here. So.
Of course, somebody told me I was the 8th person you asked, too. So.
Well, first off, you got to take in mind Satan. She said no.
Yeah, she has turned it down several times. Then Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson also.
Yeah, we keep on saying, Dwayne, you just need to come on. He says, we don't know who you are. Please stop harassing our client. And yet we keep sending him more than soda because we think that that's what he likes.
So today we decided that we were going to be doing an interview, but along with the interview we have some student questions and things like that we were going to pass on to you. And for those students listening, or whoever listening, we also have some suggestions from Mr. Bullock himself that we are going to be turning into topic material. So to start us off, we actually got some suggestions from you, and you were discussing some things as far as what students should know. Now, you were discussing
Actually, the
musically.
very first thing you said is that I will only do it if we can only talk about 80s hair metal. And so we'll start off with 80s hair metal. Who is the 80s hair band that these kids need to get woke about?
Oh, if you've not listened to Guns N' Roses, you have no clue. And they were late 80s, kind of early 90s. But no doubt, Guns N' Roses, man, they were what it's all about.
So Appetite for Destruction, Slash in his top hat and sunglasses, that's what Coach Bullock says is A-grade 80s hair metal material.
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, if you hadn't listened to Paradise City and Sweet Child of Mine, yeah, dude, you're missing out on life. You don't get it.
So I actually had a question that was similar to that because we had discussed on just music in general. You said there are some that the kids won't get if we talk about it. But so I wanted to ask you then specifically if you had to recommend 3 songs. Now they could all be, 80s metal band, that's fine. Mm-hmm. But 3 songs that every person should listen to regardless of age that you think they would otherwise miss.
Oh, if you're from the Boot Hill and you've not listened to John Mellencamp sing Small Town, you don't have a right to say you're from the Boot Hill. Miss Tracy will tell you, at my funeral,
You're
Small
gonna
Town.
have Pink Houses played on.
No, but the song Small Town, if a kid will sit and just listen to that, and there's an acoustic version of it, if you listen to the words about being born and raised in a small town, if you're from southeast Missouri, man, that's what, he might have been from Indiana, but when he wrote it, man, his heart was in the boot for sure. So.
All right, so that is the song. That is
song, man.
He didn't even have a top 3. That is that important, guys.
So right now, pause the podcast, open a new window, and type in John Mellencamp Small Town and listen to it and come back.
Wipe the tears away and then come back and listen.
Oh, heck yeah, that's it, man. That is it, no doubt.
So we had a suggestion roll into our suggestion box, and we, a couple weeks ago, it was
2 weeks ago, yeah.
Did one where we just went through all of these suggestions, or we call them suggestions, because a student created a suggestion box and wrote suggestion because they didn't spell it correctly. And the student suggested that we discuss what it's really like to be a teacher, or they used the colloquial term, spill the tea on what it's like to really be a teacher. Now, we have only known you as an administrator, but we were curious, what was it like for you as a teacher?
Yeah, how did you get here?
Man, I'm not. I had a lot of kids survive. I taught for 6 years, and to say I think they survived my teaching. I taught health and I taught physical education, and then I taught weightlifting when I was coaching at Malden.
Was that at Malden?
Yes, that was at Malden. That's the only place I taught. I would say I feel like I was probably a pretty good weightlifting, because so much energy and time was spent on it.
Mm-hmm. Were you a Scott Cochran and you were out there just yelling them, holding up the 4 quarters?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we tried to, we kind of had a motto where we attacked every day. Like when the kids walked in, I was really bad. Like if you wasn't a kid interested in playing varsity sports, like if you came in and you did what you're supposed to do every day, man, we got along great. But if you was a kid that was like, man, coach, I'm just in here because I got to get a credit, I tried to quickly get you moved over to PE. But But no, I loved being in the weight room, and I was I was a young kid at that point. I think when I left Malden, I was 27 or 28. So I worked out a lot with my kids, so they saw me do stuff with them. PE wise, I thought I was a pretty good PE teacher. We just didn't roll balls out. Health, I was probably subpar, and it was not because of lack of effort, but a lot of times I'd get in with the kids and go, okay, now pick the chapter you want to talk about, and it would be like, it was like we never want to talk about any of the 10 systems in the body, but we always wanted to talk about, drug use, alcohol abuse,
But
but the kids picked it, but it was like we always hit the same chapters. So, like I said, I don't think I've turned out, any doctors come out of my health classes, but it was probably my fault. So,
but hey, like in my master's class, one of the big things they talk about is like student choice, and you provided that for them, and that was like you made health actually usable for them because that was something they found interested. So,
yeah, no doubt. So, yeah, when I evaluate teachers, a lot of times it's like I'm evaluating comparing you to me, so your evaluation should be pretty good.
So, the fact that you were then a health teacher lends to the fact we have had several questions that could kind of fall in that category. We've had students ask about things ranging from, well, we actually just had one suggestion that simply said weed, and we weren't entirely sure if they were talking about lawn care or the legalization of things that's been traveling across America. But maybe we'll have to have you back on sometime when we tackle some of those tough questions that you can draw on your health experience and help us out.
The only weed I know about is what Miss Tracy does out there in the front of our house right now, and them rocks that she's got.
And with that said, like whenever you talked about weight training, I remember when you first came here, that was like the big thing. We saw a big change in the program of our football program whenever you came here, and we saw kids hitting that gym, and you took a bunch of kids that had never really won that many games and just turned them into some hosses. So,
oh yeah, and I really, man, I was fortunate to be in the right place at the right time, and had a lot of good guys helping, and the whole community was just. And I really inherited a lot of athletic kids that just for whatever reason, they just hadn't had some success, but they were so tired of losing that it didn't matter if it was me or who it was, I really think, that walked in. They just needed a person that said, hey, I'm here to win. And unfortunately, I was the person that inherited that group of kids. Those kids, that first year, couple years I was here, those kids were so great and just had such great work ethic. And there was a little bit of ornery in a lot of those kids. And ornery is really underrated in football as long as you can control it.
Mm-hmm. With that said, I've been doing the radio for football, even though it doesn't sound like it because I'm kind of mush-mouthy right now, for years now. And this is actually the first time I've actually gotten you on recording, come to think of it. So it took so long.
I was going to say, do we need to turn you loose on some football-related questions for a while?
No, we're good. We're good.
My IQ will quickly drop. My football IQ will be quickly dropping when you question me and grill me.
So I was just going to say, that question then on what it was like to be a teacher, how do you think then as an administrator, I know you actually were a superintendent for a while,
right,
and then you became the principal here. How do you think your experience as a teacher helped you then to become a better administrator?
Oh, I mean, everybody that moves into administration has a teaching background, but I think the biggest thing is the key is just not forget what it's like to be a teacher. Our as a principal, just like teachers, man, our number one priority is making sure our kids are taken care of. And then number two is just taking care of your staff. But, the key, and I'm fortunate because I'm married to a teacher, so I never forget. She comes home and I hear, Tracy go, man, like, hey, she tells me about her day. So it doesn't let you forget what it's like. And it lets you, I think if anything, I'm probably an encourager to teachers when they get a little frustrated, and and I'm constantly just kind of telling them like, hey man, just keep on keeping on, and it's for all the kids that you're struggling with, man, 97% of them you're doing great with, so don't forget those kids. So I think that's probably the biggest thing that's allowed me to be hopefully somewhat a decent administrator anyway.
And that leads us kind of into the next question that we kind of had, is that a lot of kids, they're only here for 4 years, so they don't ever see that evolution of a teacher becoming a principal. Mm-hmm. And so they just think of you as just something that kind of dropped out of the sky and you're the principal. So, like, could you possibly walk them through how one actually becomes a principal?
Yeah, well, like in my situation, I started teaching in 1992, and back then, to keep your certificate through the state, you had to take college hours. And I really, to be completely honest, had no desire to do anything other than teach and coach. But at that time, I started working on it. After my third or fourth year, I started working on my master's, and I got it in administration. And at that point, you're looking and you're seeing friends of yours that are going into administration. And let's be honest, you see a little bit more freedom than what a teacher has. You see financially, it's a little bit better for your family. And at that time, Miss Tracy and I were starting our family. So really, that's kind of what led me to Holcomb. Of course, Holcomb was only about 15 miles south of Malden, so it was a perfect setup. And then once I got my master's, the next thing was at that time to keep my master's and my principal certificate, I had to work towards a specialist program. So it was just natural, man. If you're going to work for it, go ahead and get it. So I got the specialist that allowed me to be a superintendent. So it's just a natural progression, you know. So, but yeah, it's interesting, you know. I think the big thing with kids is and I think one of the things that I hope, one of my strong suits, I think my kids don't necessarily see me and they just don't lay a title of, hey, that's the principal or that's the coach, because especially by living in the community, which is great for me, I think my kid, yeah, they call me coach, but I think they just see the human side. You know, they see me in the cut-off T-shirt and walking around in gym shorts on the weekend, and they see me in a setting. And I really do think that's where it's been beneficial to me to coach while I've been here, is because kids have been able to.
That keeps you kind of down on like, not necessarily. It doesn't keep you. That doesn't keep you separated from them. It helps you be a little bit more ingrained with them and working with them.
For sure, the human side. And you know, and I've never been a person to sell myself out for a title. You know, I don't like people calling me Mister, or I don't like being labeled a principal. You know, I'm no different than anybody else. And I think that's always maybe been one of my things that, as far as relations with my kids. Building that is, I think my kids always see me as a person, you know, and sometimes it was, hey, that's Peyton and Hannah's dad is too, you know, and they see me in those settings. So I think that's one of the things that's a key to letting you be successful, for sure.
All right, then.
So as we walked through this kind of process, we did open up for students to be able to ask some questions. And I have a whole box full. I haven't actually gone through and checked them all.
All right.
So there's no telling what we're about to open up.
Yes.
As long as I'm not incriminated or I don't blow my next job I'm going to, man. We're good, man.
Yeah,
I don't think we have that kind of reach just yet.
I hope not.
So would you be willing to answer some of these student questions maybe that we have here?
If possible, I will, man.
All right. So let's see. We'll dig into the suggestion box here, which is full of all kinds
This
of
is a really nice box.
Yeah, this is quality. We have someone's student pass.
Yeah,
that
so
they
first
put in
off
here.
is, did you allow Alexa Prickle to go to... Oh, we're not supposed to say student
Oh,
name.
no. Student name. We got to go back
We're
and
not.
censor
I'm
that
not.
one.
Yeah, we're not addressing that one.
All right. So, what made you want to become a superintendent instead of staying as a principal in Portageville?
I think I've just always been a person every 7 or 8 years, because I think I like to keep stuff new, and I don't want to ever feel like I'm getting in a rut.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean that's a big part of it, and the things that also it's allowing me to do for my family, and that's kind of what led to it.
Okay.
That's a pretty easy one, man.
That will work. That will work. This is a little bit harder one, which we probably really don't even know, really, who's coaching football.
We've actually hired a gentleman at the school board meeting last Tuesday.
Well, there we go.
And hopefully he's coming down to meet with the boys. I think the contract's ready, but it's not been signed. So
We really can't announce
There's a
the
guy
name.
in place, and I will tell you this: I had the opportunity. Mr. Allred allowed me to kind of sit in on the interviews, and this he's legit. He's going to do a really good job. And I'm excited for the kids because I want to see Portageville continue to do well, and I'm excited for the boys. So hopefully, and the good thing is, like I said on the interview and told him, I said it ain't gonna be real hard to beat the last guy. So the bar wasn't real high as far as beating him.
Well, apparently the bar as far as relating to students was relatively high because of the question that I have in my hands right here. It's a 3-part question.
Some deep thinking.
And you'll see probably as you go through why I started it off that way. First one is, will you remember us?
Oh yeah, hey Portageville, and I've told the kids this. This place is always going to be home in its own way, and I can't say Malden won't be because I was born and raised there, But Portageville, man, you all have no clue how special Portageville is to me. But hey, my 2 kids are always going to be Portageville Bulldogs. They graduated from here.
That is true.
And that's a huge part of my life. And again, what people don't understand, man, Portageville was willing to give me a chance 7 years ago. Nobody, when they hired me, nobody knew who I was. I'd been out of coaching for a long time. And this place gave me a shot, man. And this place is always going to be special. And I'll still be around. Miss Tracy's going to stay here.
It was like, I remember when we hired her, I was like, who the heck is this guy?
That was a good thing that there wasn't much expectation for me, so it wasn't hard to beat it.
That is true.
So the other 2 parts of this question. One, on your last day, can we throw you a goodbye party?
Yeah, no parties, man. I appreciate the offer, but no parties. How about let's take finals on my last day here?
Yeah. And then last but not least, from the same student, he said, quote, "Why do I find you nicer than all the teachers?"
Well, because you're not with me on a minute-to-minute basis, and he's probably not one of the kids that played football for me.
Yeah, probably.
So,
like I've like the football players have a different skewed view on that.
I can also tell you, I know which student. I remember by the way that was folded, which student put that in the box, and he's also someone who's probably never had to see you for discipline.
Oh yeah, no doubt. But even with discipline, man, I'm not a yelling screamer unless a kid just gets disrespectful. It's discipline from my standpoint. You come in my office, teacher sent you down. At this point, it's just here's what you done. Here's repercussions for it, and it don't have to be personal unless a kid makes it personal. So.
Speaking of discipline, my next question that I pulled from the box actually kind of falls in line with that. How do you feel about phones at school?
Man, I mean, they're not right now. The policy at our school is you're not supposed to have them. So, I'm a firm, and that's one thing about being a principal or superintendent. You're all about basically policy. So right now, our school's policy is you're not supposed to have them. So at this point, I think as times change, everything's going to continue to change. Do I see down the road where phones are allowed at school at some point? I do, because I see at some point those being used as tools in the classrooms. When a kid can Google from his phone. The bottom line is, though, the responsibility, our kids got to mature a little bit more, because the kids can't, if the kids could handle like, no, I can't be texting and I can't be on Snapchat while we're up here, I think that would be something to be accepted a lot faster. But that's on the kids. You guys have to mature a little bit faster if you want that, that responsibility and freedom.
Okay.
Now this one, I don't know that this one was necessarily specifically addressed to you, but hey, I'll let you give it a shot. Why communism failed?
Oh yeah, it's not addressed to me because
that's more of a PE knowledge.
I got I got 2 guys in here with history certificates, and you're asking the PE guy about communism failed.
For those of you who listened to our last podcast about suggestions, that's a class 2. Sometime we'll tackle communism.
Yeah, watch Rocky IV if you want to know.
Exactly. Hey, exactly.
We gave Rocky IV a shout out when we did our.
That's really all you need to know about the 80s. Communism, boxing,
there you go.
You name it.
Winter.
James Brown. Brown, that's all
of it.
Yeah, it will teach you so much.
Yeah, that's easy.
All right, this is actually a pretty good one.
Okay.
Are you going to talk trash about Portageville like you did other schools once you're at Malden?
No, I'm not. I'm going to be in an office over there, man. I'm no longer coaching. That was all in good. Like I said, my trash talking is, man, that's the coach in me to work up the kids that play for me, to hopefully get kids that want to come out and watch. I mean, that's all in good harm. That's just all in good fun. And when it's over, it's over. I got a lot of respect for people at every school, man. There's a lot of good places in the Boot Hill, man.
Still, my favorite is my first year teaching here, and on that opening day, press conference or speaking thing that you do, you said, and at the end of the day, just remember, we all could be worse. We could all be down at Hayti.
Hey, man. Yeah, and Hayti's got I got a lot of friends down there, so I just do it poking, man, for sure, man. But yeah, we hammer New Madrid County Central pretty hard around here too.
Well, they are a rival, so.
Oh yeah, and we did score 60 on them the last time we played them, in case anybody forgot.
So we have a question that I'm not sure who put this in here, but I know what they're hoping the answer is, and it is, who is your favorite student? Now, I'm guessing that there's 2 of them, and they both already graduated.
Yeah, that's my 2 favorites. Like, right now, man, I'd be hard-pressed to say I got a favorite, so I'm going to leave that. I'm going to leave that one out, My favorite teacher is Miss Tracy, I can tell you that.
Yep, that's an easy one.
Yeah, but no, Hannah and Peyton's probably my 2 favorite students. It's a tie. No doubt. So, and I'm hoping, man, they're smart enough that they can put me in a good nursing home someday.
I was going to say, you're not going to just spark some rivalry and tell them like what they need to do to achieve number one?
No, man. And I will tell you, my quarterbacks have always rated pretty high for me because any kid that's played quarterback for me rates high just because all the kids see that, oh, he's his quarterback. But a lot of kids, other than the kids that are out at practice, they don't see how hard I am on those kids either, man.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, you got a lot more care on your shoulders that you have to kind of pull along if it's quarterback.
yeah, my quarterback kids, you're pretty special to me if you play quarterback for me for sure, man. So.
All right, well, we actually just chewed through. There you go. That was the suggestions from the students. That was all the questions that we had. Some of them were repeats, so if yours wasn't specifically asked, it was probably because it was very, very similar to one of the ones that was. And we actually had a couple other questions that we figured we could roll to, and you had one of those.
Oh, yeah. Mainly because I was on the other side of it 3 times, just out of curiosity. Like, what are you looking for whenever you're sitting in whenever you're actually interviewing a teacher? Because like I said, like I actually sat through that interview.
Yeah,
like people might not know that. Like me and Coach Bullock actually interviewed 3 times. So like, what are you looking for whenever you're actually interviewing a teacher?
Man, one of the things without a doubt is just like your knowledge of the content area. You want to make sure you know that whoever you're putting in there has a pretty good idea what it is they're trying to get accomplished. A big thing to me. A lot of times, and a lot of times when I interview with another administrator. It's not just typically by myself, but for me, and it's kind of weird because you can't necessarily just write it down, but it's really just a kind of a vibe you get from a person. Like, are they the right fit? I've worked at 3 different schools, and there's been kids that are young people I've hired here to be teachers that maybe at Holcomb or Malden they wasn't the right fit, but at Portageville they were the perfect fit. At Malden they were the perfect fit, but maybe here wasn't the right. And it's just weird, but you just pick up a vibe from feeling. People, and ultimately, for me, ultimately it gets down to people I interview. Man, do they want to see kids be successful? They're not coming to school and be a teacher because when they were students they wasn't popular. Now their chance to be popular. I mean, you just want to teach, and you want to see kids not just get better academically, but just give them a chance in life to be successful. And I think that's the thing for myself. As I've gotten older, I've really kind of learned it. And whether it was coaching or being an administrator, I want to see kids have success in life, man. And we're all going to grow up and we're all going to struggle. I was a kid that struggled, but at the same point, man, people cared about me, and I'm just kind of in that hey, pay it forward mode in life, and that's what you look for in teachers too, I think.
Okay.
So the next question that we have is far, far less deep.
All right.
And that is, we had a podcast, and this is actually how the conversation started that eventually ended with you being here on the podcast, in which you listened to a piece of a podcast that we did, and we talked about top Christmas movies.
Right.
And you had some critiques for some of the movies that we had chosen. And so...
Mostly some of the movies you chose.
Specifically the ones that I chose.
Like, I didn't hear any feedback on my
true.
movies.
But we wanted to give you the shot here. If you're going top 5 movies. Now it doesn't just have to be Christmas movies.
And you kind of already phrased this whenever we were talking about like putting this episode together. You're like, what about an episode? What if we just tell the kids what are the movies they have to see?
Yes.
Oh, number 1. I'm going to go for number 1.
All right, sounds good.
Getting down to number 5 at some point, I may be sitting here struggling.
Okay.
Dude, without a doubt.
We can do 3 if you need to.
Without a doubt, number 1 movie, all time, Smokey and the Bandit. Burt Reynolds, dude, Jerry Reed, just about driving cars. And and you can't make it, you can't make it no deeper than that. It ain't like I'm walking out of this movie and I'm feeling like I've had my life changed because... Dude,
I feel like some people have watched Smokey and the Bandit and their life has changed dramatically.
I have legitimately probably watched this movie 100 times, Wow. And one of my biggest life's regrets is I cannot grow a Burt Reynolds thick mustache. I just don't know if I got a lack of testosterone or what the deal is. But, dude, the bushy stash, I cannot grow, and it's been one of my biggest life regrets because I can't even dress up that way at Halloween because of the lack of that ability. But I've tried to talk Miss Tracy 100 times, and hey, Halloween, let's go that route. But she won't do it, man.
She's like,
for sure, that
you can't grow that mustache.
That needs to be the cover photo for this podcast. Is we need to find a way to Photoshop a mustache onto Coach Bullock.
Well, that was one of our play cards on the football field.
It was,
and people wanted to read more into it, but it was that simple. As
it was go for 2.
dude, man.
He was holding up the piece. Like whenever I called the games, I would see the signs held up, and I'd always try to guess what the play would be. And like for sometimes you could kind of figure it out, but like I figured, like at one point I remember like the Michigan sign was always going to Terry for some weird reason, or that's just how it ended up working out whenever I made the connection.
Hey, you might have been smart. I think you might have been overanalyzing, Coach.
But like my question for you actually was, what was the Burt Reynolds?
No, it's just strictly, man. We had a series we call Bandit, and I mean, ain't nobody the Bandit but Burt Reynolds, man. So, and it wasn't anything. There was just random plays on basically every one of those. Now, like everybody else, man, there's probably on our play sheet there's probably 120 plays, and there's probably 15 of those that I call the nucleus of what we do. So you do tend to see those more often. But yeah, man, Burt, and then like I had Hannah with Tebow when she met Tebow. Nothing. A lot of time that was just down at the goal line when we ran that little jump pass. That'd be But
that's Tebow. Yeah.
There wasn't a whole lot of, like I said. I mean, a lot of people have kind of analyzed it, and I just kind of sit back and smile because I think sometimes people's thinking I'm a little smarter than I am. It's just randomly I'd say, "Hey, Coach Red, scramble them up and put them somewhere." Kids look at their armband and go, "Hey, we're ready to roll, man." So, anyway,
that works.
Yeah, man. Number 2 movie.
Okay.
Tin Cup. Kevin Costner, man. Gotta watch Tin Cup. When a guy self-implodes and explodes and blows a chance to win the U.S. Open, man. So, and I can tell Mr. Norman's
I have never actually even heard of that movie.
What?
Dude, your life is sheltered, man. You were traveling way too much over in Europe when the rest of us in the United States.
You don't know how many
life,
kids
bro.
have told me I had no life.
That's the thing I remember about Tin Cup is where he instead of punting it, he kind of does the pull shot with the golf ball into the hole.
Oh yeah, dude. That's my favorite sports movie of all time is Tin Cup, man. So that's
I'll have to check it out for sure.
Yeah, it's legit, man. And
well, I would give Mr. Bullock or Coach Bullock a chance to kind of get his number 3 movie together. I just remembered I was forced to watch Ghost Ship over the weekend. We had a question about our opinion on Ghost Ship.
Oh yes.
So I have a much more detailed explanation of Ghost Ship for that one kid who asked about Ghost Ship. It's very slow at the beginning. It's not necessarily a great movie, but once it decides to get dumb, it's an awesome movie. That is my review of Ghost Ship for that one student who wanted a more in-depth interview on Ghost Ship.
And once again, I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I ain't watched Ghost Ship.
Hey, at least I'm not now. I feel better now.
Well, I was just say the first minute will have you your sides splitting.
Gotcha.
And if you've watched Ghost Ship, you know what that means. So
okay.
All right, number 3.
Life with Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence. One of the greatest movie scenes of all time is when the warden's daughter, they're looking to figure out who the dad is, and Bernie Mac steps out and goes, "I'm that baby's pappy boss." That's the greatest one line in a movie ever, man. Love it.
My favorite, which we can't say the line here on the podcast, but for life, my favorite part of that was when they're in the diner that's segregated, and he's just like, "How much money will it take to turn one of those pies?" Into another type of pie.
Yeah, that's a great movie. That's maybe Eddie Murphy, man. People don't. Of course, when I was growing up, Eddie Murphy was a little bit rougher than what he was. What all the kids are growing up watching him in these movies. But dude, Eddie Murphy's one of the funniest dudes ever.
That was back during his like red jumpsuit. Bad days.
And I love Bernie Mac, man. I'm a huge Bernie Mac fan. Miss Maud and I and Mr. Tony, we sat in the cafeteria a lot of days and we talk about Bernie Mac and his movies a ton, man. So yeah, it's good. Now you gotta make sure you're old enough to watch it. I can't remember what the rating is on that.
Just check.
I'm pretty positive it's rated R.
Okay, yeah. Until you're 18, guys, you stay away.
So technically 17, I think.
Unless you got parent permission, man.
I think it's only 17
That's his recommendation for, around graduation time. There you go.
No doubt, man. No doubt.
And no, seniors, we're not going to watch Life in my class.
No, don't. If you guys don't even ask a teacher to watch it. At least not till next August when I'm gone.
That's probably why that's another movie that I have not yet seen.
You do need to see Life. You do need to see Life.
I am admittedly sheltered when it comes to movies.
Okay.
So we've got the top 3. You got any other last
honorable mentions? Possibly.
Honorable mentions?
Man, you got to watch The Godfather at some point in your life.
Is it both Godfathers or just the original Godfather?
Dude, Godfather 2 is one of the few sequels that may be as good as the original, or if not better. And dude, my mind's going blank on Scarface too.
Scarface,
I kind of put them all.
Al Pacino.
Yeah, I'll put them all right there together in those three in
All
one.
the Al Pacino movies.
But dude, Al Pacino's legit. You know, our kids like we watch stuff now. We got all these guys. They put them on TV and they think they're tough guys. Dude, Al Pacino was like 5'8", and he's legit. But he was like a legit
he controlled
movie.
a room.
He was a legit movie star, tough guy, man. I loved him. But yeah,
Not only that, he was a football coach too in another movie.
yeah, I forget. Any given Sunday, man, no doubt.
He had the cojones to bench what's his face and put in Jamie Foxx.
Yeah, but Dennis Quaid.
Dennis Quaid. He benched
got
Dennis Quaid and put in Jamie Foxx. Essentially, if I was to explain it, he benched Peyton Manning in exchange for putting in. I'm trying to think of a good example. Lamar Jackson.
There you go, man. There you go. And my last number 5, I got a 5th one, and this one I bet not hardly anybody's watched. Cool Hand Luke, starring Paul Newman. It was shot like in the 50s, and it's about this guy being in a prison work camp, and he got arrested for cutting parking meters off downtown one night, and that's why he got thrown into this camp. But it's just a legit good movie, man. It's about 3 hours long, but it's straight great, man.
Yeah, you actually walked into my classroom earlier today, and I was reading one of my college books from a master class, and actually they quoted Cool Hand Luke at one point, saying, "Right here we have a failure to communicate."
And let me give one more. And I know you said top 5, but let me give one.
fine.
Hey, keep
I got
going,
one
keep
with
going.
an asterisk, and to me it's the greatest book, the greatest American book that's wrote, and that's To Kill a Mockingbird. Every kid needs to, number one, read that book regardless of what grade you're in, but then go out and watch that movie, man. That's
Gregory Peck.
legit, man. Yep. And it's just about treating people right, man. It don't matter what color we are, how much money we got. Dude, it's all about
right thing.
Do the right thing and be fair to people, man. And that's legit. And I've tried it. I don't always do it, but I've tried my best in life to not care what a person looks like or where they come from. Be right to people, and man, that's what that movie's all about, and I love it for that.
Now, do they read that in your class? Is that something?
No, they don't. They are actually. I think Miss Brown took it over.
Okay.
Miss
So
Brown
we
took it
do.
over. I see. Even though I do need to teach more female authored text in my class, I find that I struggle with embodying an 8-year-old girl who's the narrator of To Kill a Mockingbird because I've never been an 8-year-old girl.
Yes.
So I'm much better at embodying Jay Gatsby or Guy Montag compared to the Scout Finch.
Scout's not your girl, man. That's all right though. Atticus though,
Scout's my girl. I can embody Atticus a little bit more.
Atticus is the wisdom in there, man.
And he's kind of like the main character that you need to focus on. Like,
Right.
Scout's just who we find out the story through, but
Right.
Atticus is the main person you need to pay attention to. Jim's the main person you need to pay attention
Yeah.
to. But yes, I agree with you. It is probably the greatest American novel ever written.
Yeah. And Mr. Angotti reminds me a lot of Boo as well. So if the kids are trying to figure that out, man, watch that movie and take a look and say, man, he looks a lot like him, man.
He does look like a lot like Mr. Hancock.
That is a great tease towards next week's podcast, in which we will be getting some.
Hopefully.
Yeah, Lord willing, we will be getting some quality commentary on an epic event that actually Mr. Bullock was also part of.
I witnessed it with our volleyball players, man. This great squirrel raid, baby.
The great
Yeah.
squirrel.
Or what's his name? That the squirrel went berserk.
Ray Stevens.
Yeah, Ray Stevens. There you go.
Just over my head.
See, there's some
That's a reference that I missed.
Country song, man.
Anyway,
My music foray is just terribly too deep. I know way too
I
many
figured Ray Stevens
things.
would be up your alley. Though.
Oh, yeah, I've
he's
seen
got a
him.
lot.
I
of,
know
yeah.
Ray Stevens now.
Yeah.
He's the I under. That's the one with the church.
again,
That's
Laura.
right.
Yeah, baby.
So we've asked all our questions. We have the mic still, though. Do you have anything in closing you just really want to end off with?
Let the masses know.
Yeah.
Oh no, man! I'm just going to tell you, and I just want everybody in Portageville, especially our kids, I know that listen to this, man, how much I've enjoyed being here for 7 years. And I know, not every kid thinks going to school is great. Some kids don't want to get up out of bed. Some kids, when they're here, they're just in a hurry to get home. And I'm telling you guys, man, we really have a good school here with a lot of great people that you get to work with. And, man, just appreciate it. Man, love each other and love seeing people do better in life, man. And you're going to go a long way with that. But I wish nothing, once May gets here, and I'm not here physically every day, I hope everybody knows, man, there's a guy sitting over at Malden that's rooting for our community and our school over here. And I consider myself lucky to have been here for 7 years, man. So let me leave it with that.
All right. That sounds good. And maybe sometime we'll get you back on here. We'll have some specific topic. We just really need your input.
Yeah, we just need your expertise in health once again.
Yeah.
There you go,
to
man.
come through.
Yeah, hey, when you go to the shower, make sure you got some soap and shampoo. Put a little toothpaste on the toothbrush, a little deodorant under the arm, and you're set. Don't spray cologne on top of sweat after PE. There's nothing worse than the funky odor that comes. You still stink. Don't put the dime store polo on after you're sweating. You still stink, bros. Trust me.
I can second that motion. I get the freshman after PE.
Yeah,
And
yeah, man, come on,
At
fellas.
one point in my career, I had the freshman after PE. Nothing, not to say that freshmen are bad or they stink, but after PE you do.
But you're not fresh, man.
Yeah, it ain't fresh, baby. No doubt.
All right.
All
I guess until next time, my name's been Paul Davidson.
And mine is and will be Scott Norman. And thank you again to our guest.
Appreciate it. Peace.
And this has been
Two Dumb White Guys.
There you go.
Is that all right, boy?